There's a home field advantage of recording in New York, you know. I think it didn't. I don't. We've written all of our records in New York, and a lot of what the identities of the songs are born in the rehearsal studio, not actually in the recording studio. A lot of times we kind of use the recording studio more to basically live up to the ideas that we came up with in the rehearsal studio. It's not really to be like it's not like I mean, Paul writes a lot of vocals continuously until the end and so forth, but the actual identities, the root of the songs are in the rehearsal studios. So it's not like we're going there trying to write a chorus or a verse. It's a different sort of mentality. So in some ways, it wasn't that different than other records we've written. The difference was that, like, I think when you're making the first two records, you made in a house in Connecticut, and we lived in the house, and there was like a string of days during Antics. I didn't leave the house for like 10 days. That's kind of like not good for you in some ways. You're like living below the floor, you're recording, and always dreaming about the console and stuff like that. It's not very healthy. And I found for recording in New York, it's you work equally long hours, and it'd be very taxing and so forth. But once you walk out, you're walking out to New York City, and then right there you have like a world of distraction in a very healthy way. Because once you leave the studio at night, there's not much you can do. You have to let it go. And so for me, like, I'd walk out and be like, oh, I'm going to go do this now, I'm going to go do that. I had things I needed to do, I wanted to do, and it felt like a really good sort of balance to, the pushes and the pulls of making a record. Well, it's actually the first song that we wrote for the record, so it's got that kind of a fond memory.
Which song?
What?
The Heinrich Maneuver.
Yeah, where were you, dude? Oh. I see, right? Yeah, the Heinrich Maneuver was the first song that we wrote for this record, and it being our first single. I don't know. It's like definitely maybe like more of like kind of like a rock sort of kind of upbeat sort of tune. I mean, the record's pretty eclectic, although as most of our records I think tend to be different sort of moods. If we write a song that's got one feel, a very certain feel, maybe it's very quick and uppity, then the next song's probably gonna be very different tempo and probably a very sort of different mood. So the Heinrich Maneuver has like a very sort of unique place in the record, I would say. But yeah, I think it's just a very upbeat kind of like rock tune. And I don't know. What do you think? It kind of is what it is, really,
Yeah, I mean, it's a rock tune. It's upbeat, and I think it's our version of a love song as well. I don't really concern myself too much with what singles are. I think there's reasons why some songs are singles, but there's also sort of we make records, so we're all very passionate about every song on the album. Yeah. And if the radio would like to play a 6-minute song, thanks, that's what I was looking for. We'd be happy to have that as a single, but you just do. So I mean, the Heinrich Maneuver is among many songs we're proud of, a song that we're very proud of.
Yeah, we don't write songs like, oh yeah, man, that's gonna be the single. That one's
Let's write a bunch of crap now.
Yeah,
we got the single.
No, I mean it's like every song, gets every song that we write gets an equal amount of treatment. There's not, and it is. We make albums. We don't write songs in a way. I mean, we make albums together, and each song is really as important as the next. So we're kind of living in an age when the album is not really, it's kind of dying in a way because iTunes and so forth, and people are buying the single songs. But we're still operating as an albums band. And I think people kind of know us as such. So you have to choose. That said, you have to choose a song to become the single, and the Heinrich Maneuver just kind of made a lot of sense. It's also a lot of our singles that we choose. They kind of just the fact that we write some really lengthy songs that usually there's only like 3 or 4 that are under 4 minutes long, that you kind of narrow down to just those.
I don't know if we're going to discuss the concept of the video until it's out, but it's in the process of being made. Elias Merhij is the director. It's Elias, right? Not Elia.
That's a good question. That's a problem when you're like dealing with like emails and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who's the director of Shadow of the Vampire, which was like a remake of Nosferatu with Willem Dafoe. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a kind of German expressionism, sort of like great, but it's so interesting that this guy did it, 5-6 years ago, maybe a little bit more, but it just, sort of absolutely outside of any Hollywood or any typical filmmaking. He's just a a very interesting current day film director, and so it's a great privilege to be working with someone like this on our music video. And he has a great concept that but it's being made right now.
It was fun.
Coachella was fun.
It was great. We actually did like a string of Canadian dates before we went to Coachella, and those were our first shows that we played like in like a year and over a year and a half. So just getting ready for those dates was kind of funny. Like our first couple of rehearsals, because we've been making the record, and we hadn't really. I mean, after a certain point of making a record, you're just kind of like staring at speakers and just mixing and so forth. That the notion of putting on like a guitar and like playing it, it can be pretty ugly at first, and it was pretty ugly. So when we were getting ready to play, it was questionable whether we wrote some of these songs. Like we were forgetting a lot of stuff, right? But Coachella was great overall. By the time we got to Coachella, we were like really, I think, like in a good spot, and it was as if we hadn't taken a break at all. Overall, it was just really exhilarating. It was really nice to play like on a big stage, and the crowd was great, and
it's a beautiful setting.
It is.
California. It's like the desert. Little mountains all around, and it was nighttime. It was really a really good show, and a great way to end this this first round of touring that we've done.
Yeah.
Festivals are sort of I have mixed emotions about playing festivals. I mean, they're always fun, they're always exciting because they're like these huge events. But you get there's no sound check. You just kind of like run out on stage and play a show, and it's sort of like I don't know how that sounded, but it's a little bit rough and ready. But at the same time, there's so many great bands that are there, and you wind up kind of meeting up with old friends or people you haven't seen since the last time you did the festival. And there's a great kind of community feeling.
It's like a port
among bands.
It's like a port.
It is, and everybody in the bands is going through different, going through the process of touring. So I think it's very nice to catch up with old friends. And then the fans are just insane at these things. I never went to a Reading or a Leeds as a fan, and it's just like, wow, these people are avid music lovers. And so I mean, it's a very interesting and exhilarating experience.
It is. Sometimes it could be like, well, that was wrong. Like it could be that way because you play at a different time each day, and if you haven't been in civilization for a while, if you're just going from festival site to festival site, it can get to you a little bit. But sometimes you'll be playing a festival, you might be like, oh, I don't know, I'm feeling like groggy and so forth. But then the fans will be they'll just do something unexpected. I remember we played the Oxygen Festival in Ireland. And during one of our songs, there was like a natural break, and they broke out like in a football chant in the middle of it. And I remember we all like kind of just started like smiling. It was just the emotion from the crowd was so heavy that it couldn't help but kind of like overcome you a little bit. It definitely put like a really nice blend to the show. So I have a memory like that, for instance, and that's definitely a fun one.
And another memory is like having to get in a golf cart and drive a half an hour to get like a sandwich or a shower. It's like where are the sandwiches? Oh, it's the next province. Still the festival, but
well, that's for next year. Right now I think it's we're all open to it, as it's not really like we were saying before, it's not like, oh, we really like this to be a single, we really want this to be played on the radio or make a video for. I think it's not just, we're not at that step yet. We'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. We'll make this first video and then we'll take it from there. But we just finished making this record actually not all that long ago too, so all our decisions, we kind of were methodical and with time, so it's not really, we're not there yet.
And in our minds, it is, I'm loath just to separate songs from the record, at all. So
Yeah.
I'm, in a way, I'm ambivalent about what the next single is, because I want people to hear the record. So
Yeah, right now it'd be
who knows
actually-
what the next single
Totally.
will be.
And if we talk about it now, people haven't even heard the record yet. So it's kind of like, I'm excited for people to hear the whole record from start to finish. It's great that we have a single out there and people can hear a little bit of a taste of it, but that's the thing about one of our songs cannot speak for the record. It's like one of 11 songs of the record, and that's about it. And so I'm excited for people hearing, Pioneer of the Falls to The Lighthouse and everything in between, and having their own feeling, and maybe hearing it again, and maybe hearing the whole thing again, but not really hearing track, and then that track. That's not as exciting.